Okay, so we're kind of back on the air. It's been a rough winter, not the best snow. We started out real early with good snow, etc. So I want to do a little review on these two snowboards. These are the two boards that I'm riding this year. Get a little information out to you guys about how they work, how they handle, how I like them, and why I like them, and what I use them for. So on the left over here, we have the Salomon Huck Knife, which is this board right here. And the Salomon Huck Knife is a twin board in direction, meaning that I've got the same amount of nose as I do tail. The board operates under the foot and a little bit in front, meaning it's kind of a jib park type board. It's got a good amount of camber in the middle of the board through the midsection here. It's got a nice camber rise. I'm using the Burton Cartel bindings, as you can kind of see here, with the standard setup. My foot setup on this board is a 12 positive with a 12 negative in the rear. This board is particularly fun and a great board to use at beginner speeds, intermediate speeds, and some advanced maneuvers also. Why? It spins very well from the center. It spins well from the nose if you nose press it. It spins well from the tail if you tail press it. And it's got a nice even movement through the center of the board, which is why I'm set up with a positive 12 and a negative 12. Overall, it's just a great fun board, which could be used by somebody just a little beyond beginner up through advanced who just wants to get it and ride all types of terrain. It handles well on groom. It handles well on powder and slush. It's just an all-around board, but on the high end for carving, for jacking this thing up and riding this side cut. The side cuts are here. It holds, but it doesn't really charge in there. It doesn't really slice a line through there. Depending on the quality of the snow, I can do a small little carve through there with a good little cut in. But overall, once it hits high speed, the board wants to kind of break loose and ride and slide and stuff. So it's a great sliding, skidding, carving, playful, fun snowboard, which I love for what I'm doing 95% of the time, which is working with people who are just starting out or people who have some problems and are still doing the falling leaf, have no toe turn, have no heel turn, etc. That's pretty much what our channel is about. So I love the board for all those purposes. So I'm going to put this one up. I better put it out of the way. And we'll come over to the ride. The ride board is the Ride Wildlife, which is pretty much a completely different board. The Ride Wildlife is a directional board. I've got much more nose than I have tail. I've got a 22-inch nose from the center of this foot all the way out here. I've got a 19-inch tail. So there's nothing that's symmetrical in nose and tail here. This is a directional board with a little bit of a setback, which means I'm set back just a little bit behind center to drive the board into the turn from the nose and slam it through with the tail. So it's a great board for all mountain riding. I can ride switch on it, but you might notice right now looking at the binding setup, which is a Ride AH, aluminum binding. On this binding, I have a positive 18, and on the back foot, I have only a negative 6, which is going a little bit more close to an alpine type stance where there's more forwardness overall in the ride. The spatialness between the two bindings on this board also is roughly 22 inches from the center to center of foot placement, meaning it's a directional board. So what this board does well is this board carves well. This board runs a nice clean line. This board is very good in the powder at high speed. This board has quite a bit of camber through the midsection of the board. It's a fun board, but it is a working board. Would not recommend this board for somebody just starting out. A strong intermediate rider wanting to move up, who wants more speed, wants more performance from the board, this Ride Wildlife would be a great board. You can kind of see from the bottom of the board an idea of the side cut through here. It's just an excellent all-around riding board for speed, powder, groomers, ice, etc. What I don't have on either one of these boards is I don't have any magnet traction along the edges that take a bite like a serrated knife or edge. So therefore, occasionally when you're on ice or something of solid consistency, one of the things I'm going to recommend to all riders out there, no matter what board you're on, reduce the amount of torsional twist, reduce the amount of rotation that you throw into it in a big hurry, because that will slide the tail out and pull you off of these strong edges that are available, particularly when you're on ice, firm, hard snow. Don't be in a rush to lay that board over and throw your body into it and break out a rotation. Ride a clean edge, side to side. Take your time, let the turns develop. Now, one other thing I have done on both boards is I've taken the high backs and I've moved the high backs in, which closes my ankle down more, but it also gives me a much higher angle. My finger going there, it gives me a much higher angle when I pull back, and when I push forward, lifting those heels, I get a lot more tip up through the inclination or the leaning in on the ride. So I hope you guys like these comments that I made to you on the Huck Knife and on the Ride Wildlife. Go look at those boards and stuff. They're the two I'm riding this year. Loving them both, but totally different boards for a totally different purpose. So if you're going to go out there and buy new boards and compare boards, make sure you're comparing it for the way you want to ride ultimately. And if it's not where you're riding at currently, you're going to have to change your riding style and develop it until you can just get out there and shred it, hammer it, and have a great time. So that's it on this. We're out.